Hello, listeners. Just before we get started, we wanted to just point out that this is another part one, part two extravaganza. So, this episode that you are about to listen to is part one of the lost Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370, and we hope you enjoy.
I was telling someone at work about it. I was like fucking Beyblade, like spinning the microwave tray, and you were like, "Wait, that's not what Dave meant to do." He meant to slowly rotate it, and I was like, "No, here we go. You gotta spin it, and then slam the door shut, and then hope it
And
keeps spinning as you microwave."
no, watch it fly, baby.
Yeah, I was like, "Go," and I'm like, "You better get in the center. It's gonna bang around in there, make a whole lot of noise, a whole big mess."
I was like, that's not my place.
You're like, "It's not my house."
I know. It's like, it's your house. You live it up. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, you're the one who has to clean the microwave. I don't have to clean your microwave.
I'm just a spectator.
Yeah. I like smashed my hand on the counter at work yesterday and it's
Oh my
concrete.
God.
And I like seriously thought I broke a bone because there's so many like tiny bones on the top of your hand. And I like couldn't really move one finger and my thumb. And I was like, fuck, did I just break a bone in my hand for like
That's
no
like
reason? I was so mad. Now it's fine.
in high school in drama club, I remember we were waiting for rehearsal to start, and me and Frank were playing that slaps game,
Oh yeah, I love that one.
that thing. And he pulled away really fast, but I was coming down so like my hands were coming down so hard, and I smashed my finger into the arm rail on one of the chairs.
Jesus.
And I was like, I bruised a bone. I bruised a bone.
You're like, I was really ready to slap those hands. It takes
oh no, you
two to contusion. What?
I'm so mad at
happened?
Zoom, like shorted out when you were saying that, and I knew exactly what you were going for. Yeah.
And you're like, I get it. I see what
Zoom butchered your delivery.
Yeah, what
and
the
that
fuck? That's not okay.
unforgivable.
That's what I did to my toe. I only had a contusion. I don't know how I didn't fucking like explode my toe into dust when I dropped the keg on it at work.
Oh boy.
I like only bruised it and my toenail never even fell off. And I legit like that was when I didn't have a car still, and I literally had to walk to work on it like every day. And it was like a mile and a half.
Oh my God, that is hell on
And
earth.
I was like, well, it's fine. And I just like bandaged it really well, and I would ice it and then just like walk like up. I think I didn't walk to work for like a week, but still, it was like
Jesus.
really bad.
Welcome everyone to aisle 666, your one-stop shop for the internet's weirdest, most puzzling, and still not solved conspiracy theories. I am one of I'm one of your hosts, Molly LeGros, and with me as always is
Haley Clune and Lisi. I'm going real spooky this week. Get into it.
How does that grab you?
Yeah. Oh, we don't have a Casio keyboard yet? I'll be a fucking Casio keyboard.
don't even trip.
Don't even fucking sweat, dog.
And for added fun, Haley also does not have prior knowledge of the topic that we are going to be discussing tonight. I was going to say she has no idea about like how I always say that, but I'm like, she knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know the ins and outs of what we're talking about.
Not an expert yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so the conspiracy that we are talking about tonight is the missing Malaysian Airlines plane. The flight was called MH370, and it went missing in March of 2014, and a 3-part Netflix documentary series dropped. I think it probably released on March 8th because that's the 9-year anniversary of its. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost 10 years, so that's
crazy. Next year will be 10 years. So a lot of my notes come from that series because they presented 3 different theories, and then I actually was not totally sold on all 3 of these theories. There's the one at the end kind of makes sense. But the first 2, they're just for me. There's just a few holes in them that just don't make sense. Like I can't suspend my disbelief.
Yeah, well, I wonder too. Like, how are they vetting the theories? Like, were there way more than 3 and they had to whittle it down to the least, like, insane 3? Or, like, where did they get
Uh,
them from?
most of them come from aviation journalists who,
Okay.
like, yeah, like
That sounds, like,
that's
reputable, like, more than I
right.
thought you
Like
were gonna say.
they come from credible sources. They definitely touch on how the internet went fucking bananas on this one,
Mm,
but they don't give credence to any of those avenues, really. It's mostly told by these journalists and a lot of the family members of those who were lost and like just people who worked for the airline.
mm,
It kind of like tells a story and then the journalists give their theories basically
right.
because we still don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the journalists that they speak to the most throughout all 3 episodes, his name is Jeff Wise. He wants to be the authority on this subject. And one of the first quotes that they have from him in the documentary is planes go up and planes go down. What planes don't do is just vanish off the face of the earth.
Whoa. Ooh.
Right. I was
Bring
like,
it back.
I was like, fair point, Jeff.
Yeah. He's like, that's what's so crazy about this is that they normally don't do that. And we're like, yeah. What's his name? Jeff?
Yeah.
All right.
Jeff Wise, which is an
Jeff's
interesting.
wise to why these planes are getting fucking missing. Jesus, Jeff's getting wise to the missing planes.
On March 8th, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, there were 239 people on board, 227 passengers, and 12 crew members. It was a red eye from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, and it was, can't stress this enough over the course of the documentary, it's a very routine flight.
It always is.
It was supposed to be just a boring, regular old day.
Like, red eye, that sucks. But at least I'll make it to my destination.
Yeah, I'm going for convenience.
Yeah, like, save a few bucks or whatever.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna disappear into the oblivion.
Shit, that's a real red eye for you. You're like, I don't even know what day it is. LOL. Where am I? The time just messing with me.
I've lost like 10 years
Yeah.
almost. So they keep mentioning how routine it is, and I to apply it to something that is relatable to me since I don't fly all the time. I was like, oh my God, what if I got on a Greyhound bus home and then just was like, okay, bye forever.
Yeah. It was my last Greyhound bus home. Little did you know.
The plane takes off at 12:41 a.m. and it was supposed to arrive by 6:30 a.m. And it's a clear night and a little after 1 a.m. So they've only been flying for like 20 minutes.
At least they didn't, like, this is whatever, cynical or like nihilistic. At least they didn't take a whole red eye and then have to like die or disappear.
Oh God. Yeah.
That
Like
would suck.
my last 6 hours on this earth was
You're like middle seat, 13 hours, all for nothing.
oh,
I didn't have to do any of that.
why did I take one
Just
for the
take me
team?
now.
A little after 1 a.m., the plane is leaving Malaysian airspace and is transitioning air traffic controllers to Vietnamese. Pilot Zahari Ahmad Shah says, "Good night, Malaysia 370." And everyone like reads way too much into that statement. Just stay tuned.
Wait, so what was the context of that again? She was just signaling that, like, leaving the airport, like she signaled that to the airport tower?
Yeah, so basically they're just transitioning from Malaysian airspace and therefore policies, laws, whatever,
Uh-huh.
into Vietnam.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so the pilot, he says, good night, Malaysia 370. I mean, I guess we'll never know, but in my opinion, I was like, oh, okay, he's just saying, see ya, Malaysia. Like,
Yeah.
going to
Like
be
how
90 seconds later, the plane disappears from all radar, like
dang,
all communication systems, everything. It literally
that's spooky.
it just disappears off of everything. So by 2:20 a.m. Malaysia Airlines, all of the people in charge, they're aware that MH370 has been lost from the system, and they are obviously on a mad like search to find this fucking plane because they're like, it's a plane.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's huge.
So they have Thailand, Hong Kong, and Vietnam all try to communicate with the aircraft, like trying to send signals and everything, and there's no response. And then obviously 6:30 a.m. comes and they do not arrive in Beijing, and there's still nothing. And it makes the news immediately by the next morning. So that's why the internet immediately blew up, because
It's so fast.
yeah. and it's also 2014, so Twitter is really popular at this point, so everyone's like, where the fuck is it?
Yeah, everyone's like, my news, this is where I get my news.
Exactly.
This is where I get and share news.
One of the I think he was the former director of like crisis control who they were speaking to, and at Malaysia Airlines, and he said that the plane had approximately 7 hours worth of fuel, so by 8:30 it should be out of fuel.
Oh shit, right.
But there is no plane to be found anywhere.
Like, it didn't even crash or nothing.
Right. And so this is, yeah, so like the internet's going crazy, and
sorry, Toast is licking my feet.
Oh, I thought you were screaming at the internet.
I was personifying the internet, you could say. Ah.
Oh, we're going crazy.
Ah.
Some saying the plane was hijacked, some claiming to have witnessed it somewhere burning, some saying it crashed into the jungle like Lost.
They're like, oh god, it's like Lost all over again. When did that show end again? Well, it's just like that.
Employees of an oil rig on the south. So, okay, sorry. I have to give a little bit more context. So,
that's okay.
Where the plane disappeared from all of the systems and everything is in the South China Sea.
Okay.
So it's this like little spot that they keep pointing to on the same map.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that's why I was saying employees of an oil rig on the South China Sea in the location that the plane was lost, they say they saw an explosion as if an aircraft crashed into the sea.
Oh, so not in the air, in the sea.
Like both. So like they're like saying that like they saw like the explosion of a fucking jet.
Yeah.
It's a 777 plane, so it's like big. They're saying they saw that, and then like obviously the debris would have or should have then been in the ocean.
The debris.
But was not, because they were like okay, I want to believe you, but where the fuck is the
show me the debris.
show me the debris.
That's going on the side.
So Vietnamese Air Force planes spotted 2 large oil slicks off the southern tip of Vietnam that were each 6 miles wide. And
oh damn, in the ocean?
Yes, in the ocean. And so they're saying, I think that could be remnants of fuel or just in general. This is where it starts to get confusing.
Right, like how do you like assign that to a specific plane?
Right. And then there's the Cathay Pacific pilots on a flight from Hong Kong. They say they saw large plane debris in the ocean on their flight. And so everyone immediately, like within a day, people are saying, like I just said, how the oil rig employees said they saw an explosion, and then the Cathay Pacific pilots say that they saw large plane debris. That's happening immediately, but what everyone is getting from the Malaysian government and everyone who is conducting searches is that they're not finding any of this. So it's like,
show me the debris again.
Exactly. Because it's like, obviously I would never think that someone would make up an explosion, because like these random oil rig employees, they don't.
Why would they lie?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm like, okay, but where the fuck is it? The three families that they consistently speak to from those who had loved ones on the plane.
Yeah.
So there's this woman, her name is Intan Maizura, and her husband is Maud Hazreen, and she always calls him Hazreen. So they are married, and they both worked as flight attendants for Malaysia Airlines. So Intan, she was very pregnant at this time, so she was not working,
Mm.
but she like talks about how otherwise, if she was not pregnant, she probably would have been on that plane too.
And he was on that one working as well.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
Because again, it was so routine.
Yeah.
And so the last thing he said before he left that night was, I love you. And they always text each other when their flights land, but that, of course, did not
Oh
happen.
God.
And so then they talked to this woman named Danica Weeks, and she is Australian, and her husband, Paul, was on the flight because he was about to start a new job in China. She unfortunately found out what was happening by a call from the New Zealand Herald the next morning.
Oh no.
That's how she found out that there was an issue.
That's crazy.
Yes. And then there's this French man. His name is Elaine. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I do not know, but it begins with a
Dennis.
W. But I do know that you pronounce his first name Elaine. His wife, and I think he had 2 children. Yes, yeah, because he has 3 children total. One of his children was not on the flight. But yeah, his wife and 2 children were on vacation in Malaysia, and they were flying to meet him in Beijing.
Oh God, that's so
Yeah.
sad too.
Yeah. So those are the 3 people that they talked to the most. The captain of an overnight flight to Tokyo was actually the last to contact MH370 because it was positioned 30 minutes ahead of the flight.
Uh-huh.
So it was trying to like contact them on emergency frequency. And he said he heard a lot of static, but also mumbling from the other end, and he believes it was the co-pilot, but that's all that they hear. So, the other weird part about this is that the loved ones of the disappeared passengers, they can call their cell phones, but it does not go straight to voicemail. It continues to ring.
Oh whoa. That is
So,
weird.
you would think if, like,
Yeah, they
you
were
know,
destroyed.
yeah, if they were destroyed, then it would just go straight to voicemail, but it was still ringing.
That's spooky.
And an even spookier part was that a daughter of one of the passengers received a phone call from her father who was on the plane, but she missed the
What?
call before she could answer.
Oh
She's
my
like, because she's
God.
running around, because, like, obviously, like, at this point, all of the family members are in the same place trying to figure out with Malaysian Airlines what, where the fuck their
Oh,
family
right,
is.
at the airport in Beijing.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
And she was receiving a call from her father's phone. And so she's freaking the fuck out and be like, guys, like, look, 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 look,
Yeah.
look. And so they're all like, answer it, answer it. And
Yeah,
she
you
tries.
dummy.
Yeah, and she tries and she misses it.
Oh no.
So she didn't actually connect.
So what's her name? Because she blew it.
They do not name her.
She's like, please don't share my name, please, God.
Like, that was the most embarrassing day of my life, actually.
We're like, you had contact with another world and you blew it. Ooh, you blew it.
Yeah. And the other weird part about it is that the Malaysian government says that they don't have the technology necessary to trace the phone calls. And I was like, I feel like that's untrue.
Yeah, I feel like anyone can check. You can fucking, yeah, I feel like that's a lie. Or I bet someone could
Especially,
help them out. Someone
yeah,
could lend them some technology to do that.
right. Like, I'm not entirely sure like how you would do it, but if they're all cell phones at this point, it's 2014, so they're iPhones. Like, I don't know.
Or like, are they saying they don't have the technology to trace any call or these calls specifically?
These
Because I was like, dude, you can try.
they're like,
what happens? That's what I thought you meant. I was like, they are actually, I think they did it now. Now it's a government conspiracy. They're like, yeah, we can't actually trace any call.
Yeah,
You don't need technology for that.
they're like gaslighting people, being like, you can't trace
A,
telephone
a
calls.
call? What do you mean? What are you
Who
talking
told
about?
you that? Those
Yeah.
go into the ether.
Yeah. It's Bluetooth and hotspots and towers.
And there
You
is
don't trace that.
absolutely zero way to trace that, actually.
Yeah.
You would think there'd be more of a way, but there's less.
But there's not. Silly you.
The Australians are who are leading the search of the ocean, and they are finding nothing. And so the first question that they are trying to answer is, why did the plane lose communication? This is where Jeff Wise starts narrating a lot of it, because he does know a lot about the circumstances of the
Right.
case. So he says most cases where that happens, where like all communication is lost, would be catastrophic failure, like explosion. But an option would be if someone deliberately turned off all of these communication systems. But who?
Toast, tell me who. Tell me who would do that. Point.
Point it. It's funny reading my notes, because halfway through, like, you see where I start to like understand what exactly it is they're talking about, but
Yeah.
there's this military radar system that's owned by Britain, and it's called Inmarsat. It's military radar. So the way that they kind of explain this is that radar, it's like one of the most rudimentary forms of radar, where it's like you can ping the locations of where things are, but there's no physical images
Okay.
of it. So new information is discovered that at the spot the plane lost communication, it may have actually turned completely backwards and flew away over 100 miles off course.
Oh.
So
Like
the other,
back towards Malaysia?
yeah, well, yeah, like they get further into which direction it could have gone in, but it's kind of hard to articulate, because it's not like they can't confirm that this was definitely MH370, because
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it just shows that something was in the air at that time that
Uh-huh.
went like completely the
The
opposite
other way.
direction
Okay.
than it was originally going.
Right.
So this information was initially withheld from the families, and they are obviously not happy when they find out and think that
Yeah.
there must be something else going on. And the other part about it is that from the beginning, the Malaysian government just does not start on the right foot with the families. And it's to the point where,
They're
like,
just like, shut up about your loved ones already. God.
no,
No,
literally.
I
And
don't know where they are. Like,
it's
give me
to
a
the
second.
point, where the families just like never trust anything that they are told at
Dude,
press
that's so sad
conferences.
and like
Yeah,
understandable.
right. This could be true, but they're like, you revealed this to us in such a shady way that I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's literally like relationships where you're like, well, you cheated, but you lied, and I'm mad about the lying.
3 days later, 4 days later, they still have not found anything in the South China Sea, and they are searching east and west, and it's just all overall a huge mess. So then they pivot to talking to like former pilots and aviation experts.
Mhm.
And so this guy, Mike Exner, he was a former pilot. He starts communicating with other pilots via Jeff Wise's blog on trying to figure out from their perspectives what might have happened, which I'm just picturing like a bunch of pilots just like in a room themselves, and one of them being like, well, when I flew, I did this and this. So
They're like,
maybe
oh,
it
I go
was.
more like this. Oh, well, I go like this.
And they call themselves the independent group. I don't know why they needed to name themselves, but
Well, I was picturing like Top Gun style names. I was like, all right, who's Iceman?
who's Goose?
Who's Goose? Give me a goose.
Give me a goose. They are kind of under the radar on the internet for a little bit, and then
Under the radar.
Yes.
You're like, no pun intended. They were under the radar, you could say.
Yes. I didn't even realize as I was saying that. So then Jeff publishes an article via Slate called How to Disappear a Jetliner.
What? That
And
was a clunky ass title.
but like it's grabby enough that everyone's like, wait, what?
I want to know how.
How do
Can
you
I
just
do it? Can I
how
do
do
it at
you
home myself?
how do you disappear a jetliner? That's how he gets on CNN to discuss. And then he's one of those like talking heads on CNN. So the reason I mentioned that they call themselves the independent group is because there's another group of people who are researching the same thing but call themselves Tom Nodders.
Are they also pilots?
No, they are not pilots. Like when I first heard Tom Nodders, I was like, what the fuck?
Like the
But
bald knobbers? That was a group in the US.
because it's the website that they were using was called Tom Nod. So they call themselves Tom Nodders. It's this website, and basically like anyone was able to view aerial photos of where it disappeared.
Oh, okay.
And supposed to be like kind of like looking to see if they could see any spots of debris, essentially. This woman named Cindy Hendry, she identifies what she believes to be a piece of the nose cone, the fuselage, and the tail. But then on March 15th, 2014, there's an announcement from the Malaysian Prime Minister. It's like sad because the relatives are obviously still holding out hope that their loved ones are still alive. Based on the satellite data from Inmarsat, they confirm that it was MH370 that completely changed course. But the thing is, they can't really do that.
They don't have physical evidence.
Yeah, like it's very likely that it was that plane, but again, there's no tangible, clear photos of that. It's just
yeah.
It's just the satellite system marked this path. So they say they're redeploying their resources outside of the South China Sea, and that they are looking more into which way it could have gone. Basically, on the map, there's like 2 arcs that it could have gone into. So it may have driven it may have flown 100 miles off course north or off course south.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because they had a lot of visuals.
Because part of I was confused for a second, because obviously Malaysia like is west of Beijing, right? So they're going like east. So,
they were
like north or south. Okay, that makes sense. I thought you meant they just like straight up turned around and went backwards, but yeah.
Yeah, so they wanted to go that way, but they either went really far north or really far south.
Okay. And
or at least that's what the Inmarsat data is saying.
Gotcha.
And that's another reason why they can't confirm it, even though they are confirming it, because the Inmarsat data, it says it like has a ping of something in this like very general arc, but it could have been going north or south. So it's like, how do you even know that?
Yeah. That's so that's such a broad answer.
Yeah. So how are you confirming that this anyway?
Even left or right. I either one. I'm like, those are opposites.
Like,
though.
but it was it. I swear.
But it was one of those 2 things.
So don't fight me on it. Cindy Hendry. So she thought the announcement was going to be like, based on the findings of people on Tom Nod, we do think that it exploded in where it anyway.
Yeah, closure is what people wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't think they got that.
So that's what Cindy thought the announcement was going to be. So when it's not that, she starts sharing all over her social media that she did find the debris pieces in the photos and is like being ignored.
Oh god, she's like, I'm being silenced.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that.
I want to believe that Cindy would be more of an expert on this than myself, obviously. But
Yeah.
when I was looking at those pictures that she was like, this is clearly this, I was like, it's not clearly that part of the plane. It could be, but it's
Yeah.
a very general shape.
Was she someone who had lost someone on the plane too, or no?
No, she's just
Okay.
someone who wanted to help.
Gotcha. She was like,
Um,
I know my plane debris, like the back of my hand.
that's so I want to give you the authority in this situation, but I don't know because when you zoom really far in, it's really grainy.
Yeah, you're just like, sure, Sharon. What's her name? Cindy?
Cindy.
I'm so bad with these. He's raising his hand at you. Dave walked by and Toast is just like, yes, you have a question? You in the front. You on the couch. You have a question?
You down front.
You down front.
What do you need?
Oh, now he's getting up.
Not only does the prime minister confirm that the flight on the Inmarsat technology was MH370, he also confirms that it was deliberately flown off course.
Whoa.
So at first they suspect the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Zahari's home is raided, and now it's
Jesus.
turned into a criminal investigation.
Oh God.
I was trying to think if he had kids. I don't think he had kids, but he definitely was very close with his like siblings and parents. So the co-pilot on this flight was very new and had only just been approved to fly on a 777. So
Oh God. Poor
they
bastard.
so they just kind of are like, yeah, it wasn't him.
You're like, so easily writing him off, huh? Why do you think he got his pilot license in the first place?
Because we knew he wouldn't do anything like this.
He was infiltrating the system.
Captain Zahari, he had an at-home flight simulator.
Because it's a lifestyle, Molly. He don't leave work at work.
He's always working.
He's always working. And that's why he doesn't have a wife and kids.
He doesn't have time.
He doesn't have time. He's like, I'm married to my job and my at-home flight simulator. Don't you see?
Don't you see?
Don't you get it?
And so the police confiscate this to see if he tried out this flight before actually executing it. He was a very experienced, vetted pilot. He was like decorated, celebrated. Everyone loved working with him. So I think that was another reason why the families like can't get on board with the Malaysian government, because they love Captain Zahari.
Oh my God.
So they're like, yeah, no, you think it was him? You're an idiot.
They're like, as fucking if it was Zahari. Did you know he had a in-home flight simulator?
He was fucking cool, okay?
It couldn't have been him. He's way cooler than you'll ever be. Fucking suit. These fucking Malaysian suits.
Get out of town. I never want to hear that it was Zahari ever.
You can't make me turn on Zahari.
On March 24th, 2014, press conference happens to announce from UK Air Accidents, they determined based on satellites and mathematics that MH370 flew south, which would mean that the most likely explanation is that it would have crashed like really deep in the Indian Ocean, which is definitely very a secluded area. And there are no airports or emergency resources out there like where they projected that it went in the ocean. Like, it does sound plausible to me that they ended up in the Indian Ocean wherever this is, because just because like it is very secluded and whatever. But I'm more concerned with why obviously they ended up there. Like, I don't doubt that that's probably where they did end up, and that like a lot of things are just lost in the ocean because the ocean is huge and largely undiscovered. But I think more so for me, the conspiracy about this is like, why did you end up there? So this announcement means that the passengers and crew were officially pronounced dead, which again pisses off the families because they're like, but you don't have bodies. And obviously, like, I understand what the families are saying in that regard, where it's like they think that with this pronunciation that they're just gonna like stop looking.
Mm.
Now they're confirming that they went completely south.
Yeah, because the Indian Ocean would have been south
Yeah.
from there, so that makes sense.
Which is, again, not something that they can technically confirm.
Right.
But they are confirming anyway.
Yes.
And pronouncing 239 people dead.
Oh my god.
So that's what they keep, like, a lot of the people that they interview keep saying, like, there's no physical evidence that confirms this. This is all based on satellite data and math, essentially.
That's it?
Yeah, yes. They are, like, they're taking the Inmarsat. This is what I mean about, like, so much relies on very specific speculation, where it's like, okay, we get these very rough satellite data, so mathematically they probably did this, and like mathematically, sure, that is probably true, but you're literally confirming, like, yep, that's it, that's how, like, math is never wrong.
Yeah.
So riots erupt in Beijing that bring the streets to a standstill because
Dang.
because the families obviously don't think the Malaysian government did enough. And
yeah.
And the Malaysian government is like, we believe we did everything we could.
Yeah, what do you mean? What more do you want from us? Jesus.
We're doing math.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing math for you.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the end of the first episode. So Jeff Wise, the journalist that I was talking about, he goes over his theory of if it were Captain Zahari that orchestrated this whole thing. I just want to tell you that Jeff Wise's stories are so insane. So, okay, and it again relies on like very specific actions happening that I'm like, there is absolutely zero way you could know that happened on the plane.
Right, he's like, if it follows my exact idea, then it would work, but it cannot stray from that at all to be true.
Right, so that's why I'm like, but there are a lot of variables in that, Jeff. So okay, so he says that the pilot theory is essentially Captain Zahari intended to commit mass murder-suicide, which is already crazy.
Not our boy Zahari.
No, not him.
Not God's golden child.
The sun smiles on
not
Captain
our golden
Zahari.
Boy.
So he says, he's like, if this were to happen, this is how I see it. When the plane was leaving Malaysian airspace and being handed over to Vietnam, Zahari would have had to have, Jesus Christ. There's too many H sounds.
Oh god.
Okay. When the plane was leaving Malaysian airspace and being handed over to Vietnam, Zahari would have used that gray area to take the plane completely off course and go down to the Indian Ocean. And the fact that everything about this flight was routine would mean that no one would be watching Zahari too closely, given that he is so experienced and loved and adored by fans of all ages.
By the entire continent of Asia.
Exactly. So he paints this wild AF story of maybe he locked the co-pilot out of the cabin, and then maybe
our rookie co-pilot, he just locked him out like that.
He's like, see you later, Junior.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the old cop. We're doing things my way.
So maybe he locked him out of the cabin. Maybe he then depressurized the plane and just let everyone die slowly with their oxygen masks on once it ran out, because the captain has a better oxygen mask than the passengers.
Because he has an at-home oxygen mask.
Exactly. And I was
that he
like,
brought in from home.
Especially for this day. And no one was like, Zahari, why do you have that? Okay.
Are you drinking Coca-Cola?
Yes.
Dan just whipped his head around like, oh, I want Coca-Cola.
Do.
Sorry. You got catsup instead and water. Dave, in case any of the listeners are wondering, Dave was just miming downing a bottle of ketchup. Like it were a drink. Like it were, I guess it's between a liquid and a solid.
Like it were a cold beverage.
Yeah, like we're a cold one.
Boys.
Anyway.
Okay.
Enough about my home life.
Let's get back to this shit.
Yeah, golden boy.
Okay.
The here would never do us wrong.
So yeah, I just think it's insane because I'm like, Jeff, you are supposing that like people die in the most painful way possible, which is like losing
Jeff, are you
air.
A sadist?
Rather grim, Jeff. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
thanks for painting a picture for all these people who are mourning their loved ones and not getting closure. I'm sure they really want to hear that right now.
Especially because I'm like, you have zero idea that that's exactly what happened.
He's like, what if it was the worst thing imaginable? How about that?
What if they died painfully
and intentionally?
So he says that there have been cases before where pilots have intended to kill their passengers, no doy, like kamikaze pilots.
Yeah. I guess that's just themselves. Or no, I guess they're killing people on the ground.
But never has a pilot taken but never has a pilot taken 6 hours to do it. Then, 4.5 months after the disappearance, at a press conference, Obama, remember him? When I was watching this and I saw Obama at a press conference, I was like, God damn it. Times were like, we didn't even
remember that.
Yeah, like we didn't even know that was having it good, because I'm not even one of those people that's like, oh, Obama was the sun, moon, and the stars, but like it wasn't this, I'll tell you that. So anyway, at a press conference, Obama tells everyone that Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370, so a totally separate Malaysian Airlines flight, so it was a flight from Amsterdam, was shot down over the Ukrainian-Russian border. And it was also a 777. So it's the same kind of plane. And obviously this is within 4.5 months of the first plane going missing.
Yeah.
This one is getting shot down over the Russian border.
Someone hates these planes.
Yeah, everyone's like,
down with planes. Up with air, down with planes.
So that is the end of the first episode, and then
is Obama telling bombshell another plane's been shot down.
So it's like cliffhanger. So then the second episode starts off with that story that plane was shot down, and it was shot down by a surface to air missile, so it was obviously very intentional.
Right.
And Malaysia Airlines hasn't had an accident since the 90s, and now they've had two in the space of 4.5 months. They're like, when it rains it pours. I don't know.
Over here at Malaysian Airlines.
So it was a Russian army unit under command that shot the plane down, and the Ukrainian president I don't know why I'm having such trouble. President.
The present president.
So the Ukrainian president calls it an act of terrorism. Like, why the fuck would they shoot down a Malaysian plane, especially?
Right, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, with what has just happened. Is there a link? ? I'm scared ? And also this particular episode, they talk a lot about Russia, and they just make Russia, and I know that this is partly true, but they just make Russia seem like they just don't give a fuck about no one on this earth. Like they are just out for destruction and anarchy. Like they don't even it's like the
it's just senseless violence constantly. And you're like, is that true? Like really?
So Australia, as we said, is leading the search, and 14 different countries work together on this one. And they mentioned how it's a very difficult area to search because there's volcanoes apparently.
Are they searching the Indian
Ocean? The Indian Ocean, and water mountains. I've never heard of water mountains before, but apparently they exist in this area of the Indian Ocean.
Wouldn't that just be like different levels of the ocean floor?
Maybe.
I just feel like that's what that is, but I don't know. Who's to say?
Who's to say? I thought it was cool.
Seafloor water mountains, tomato, tomato. Peaks
So
and valleys.
they said that like basically these waves can reach up to like 24 meters. Yeah, and it's just treacherous terrain. Like
That's
it's like
tall.
it's like deadliest catch every day. So at this point, a year goes by and they still have not found anything.
And they're searching in the ocean for debris, basically, right?
Yeah, yes. At this
Okay.
point, they're searching for debris of the plane. They just need to find something. So this is when like a lot of the conspiracies begin, and hijacking is the most popular. And so people are asking, was it in preparation for a terror attack? Was it a very broad insurance scam on on Malaysian Airlines end?
Was it an angry pilot? Who knows? Was it
Who thought he was gonna cash out?
Yeah.
Did it land on a US military base and they just destroyed it? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know what the end of the US military base one would be. Like, I'm like, are you assuming that they took all the passengers and they're just living in witness protection and will just happen upon them someday?
Yeah.
And then another one was, did North Korea steal it?
Even though they probably went south, but who knows?
Exactly. So then in Paris, France, since it is again a year since this happened, Elaine, that's what I'm talking about. He's French.
Okay, the Frenchman.
Sorry. Yeah, he's French, so that's why the French are involved in this, because they have to investigate, obviously. So a daily newspaper revisits the story, and this is where we meet reporter Florence DeChangy. I do not think I am pronouncing her last name correctly because it is French. She's great though. I love Florence, and she decides to really look into the captain. She's looking into him because she was like, the media is just slamming this guy, so
Yeah.
I gotta, like,
one way or another, we're gonna figure something out.
there was a headline called Captain Creepy, and and like supposing he had a sex obsession. Like, why does it always go to sex obsessions with like
he's like, my kink is downing planes with people in them.
Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And so like Captain Creepy, did you know him?
Like, the killer crab.
Like like, how do you know that he was creepy? You don't.
Yeah, like he also died probably. Like, why?
Yes.
Why are you lumping him in with?
So some of the media reports say that they think he was making a political statement, but like, what kind of statement would that be? Because he died too. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. And so Florence says the more I look into him, she realized that he publicly doesn't seem to be an unhappy or angry person. Like, he was, trying to fight for change, social justice, basically. And he's not an unhappy or angry person. And he didn't leave any kind of note or make any indication to anyone around him that he might do this.
Yeah.
And so Florence was like, he literally has a YouTube channel of video tutorials of like stuff that needs to be done around the house, like sealing windows or fixing ACs. Boy. Like, he's just a regular old guy. And his older sister says he was her precious little brother. And Florence says, of course, anyone could have a dark side, but from everything she's found, she was like, I just don't see him committing mass murder suicide. I don't.
Yeah.
And the crew staff from Malaysian Airlines all loved him, as we know. So they don't believe it either. So they're like, yeah Florence. And so then finally Malaysia releases all the data from Inmarsat. And in it, there is a paragraph within the data that reveals that the satellite system on the plane had been turned off when everything went black. However, it was turned back on. And that's how we have all this supposed data of it going south or north or wherever.
Oh, I see.
So the question is, why turn the system back on if it was turned off?
Was it a rookie mistake by the new co-pilot?
He's like, oh damn, we were gonna get away with it.
That's not the AC. Oh shit, dog. I thought it was. Wrong button. I don't know buttons yet. I'm just new.
I'm just so new.
I don't know any of these buttons are.
So Jeff suggests that maybe the Inmarsat data was tampered with, or so most airline pilots are not trained on how to turn this particular like Inmarsat, like the satellite system. They're not trained how to turn this on or off in case a pilot decides to go rogue, obviously.
Right. That makes sense.
So there's no on or off switch in the cockpit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my next question is like, where is the switch and like, is there one in the plane?
The only way to turn the system on or off is at this part that they call the electronic bay of the plane, which is essentially the brain of the plane.
Gotcha. Plane brain.
So the electronics bay is accessible through an unlocked hatch covered by a piece of carpet at the front of the first class cabin. So anybody can pull that
so
up.
some rich fuckhead did it. That's what I'm concluding. Some rich asshole was like,
it's like
I'm taking us all down.
So everyone on the plane is now a suspect, and he goes, it's like Murder on the Orient Express.
He's like, this is now a murder mystery party. Yes, I will be selling kits to recreate this in your home. Here is my email.
Will come with a plane set.
Yes, I do take checks. Here's my address.
So then they go back to Elaine, and he is losing it. And a friend tells him that someone named Mr. B wants to speak to him. That's the only way they refer to this person is Mr. B.
It sounds like you're talking about Mr. Bean.
Yes, Mr.
Like
Bean.
Do you ever see Johnny English? Like those that's all I'm picturing. I'm like, oh shit, Rowan Atkinson's got this. He's an international
Mr. Bean is on the case. Apparently, this Mr. B is super connected with the Secret Service. And he says...
What, of China? Or the U.S. now?
I guess it would be the U.S., considering what he's about to tell Elaine.
Okay. I was like, do other places have Secret Services? And
I would assume so. It was just
I didn't know they called it that.
Yeah, no, I would assume so. But yeah, like when I was watching the episode, he just says the Secret Service. And I was like...
Right. And is he from the U.S. too?
No, Elaine is French.
Oh, I think he said Mr. B.
I don't know what nationality they literally just say Mr. B and just expect you to roll with
anonymous.
It. Yeah. So he says that the Americans know entirely everything that happened.
We would think that.
Yeah.
That like we know.
That Mr. B, if I know anything about him.
Yeah.
So there's these planes called AWACS, which it's AWACS, and so they just say AWACS.
Okay.
They are American planes that provide situational awareness of friendly, neutral, or hostile activity. So it's kind of similar to like radar. It's just another form of, monitoring the sky.
So they're like, there's actual planes in the sky monitoring other planes. Okay, that makes sense.
And so
sky cops, but less shitty.
Exactly.
Neutral sky cops.
So 2 of these aircrafts are ours, and they are in the area that the plane disappeared. Mr. B says that because of this, they should know what happened.
Yeah.
If all of this is true. So this causes Elaine to go on a media crusade to prove that the families are being lied to. And so that's how he comes in contact with Florence. And Florence looks into the American AWACS information, and she establishes that Mr. B is credible. And I was like, why is no one saying how they can establish this? Because I'm assuming it's to keep his identity secret, but all you're saying is that, yes, he is credible. Jeff, the American journalist, he believes that it's more likely that the Russians were involved rather than the Americans. And I'm like, are you just making the Russians the boogeyman now? Like,
he was like, it was on the east, like the eastern continent. So Russia.
It's always those guys, right?
Yeah.
So he toys with the theory that someone on the plane sophisticated enough would have tampered with the Inmarsat data to make it look like the plane went south when it really went north to fake everyone out.
Oh. But
My
how does messing with are you saying just turning it on and off would make it seem like they went a different direction?
No,
That's
I
something
will
too.
explain. I will
Oh, okay.
explain. It's another one of his crazy stories.
Gotcha. You're like, no, it doesn't make sense right now. I I understand why you're asking me.
Yes, no, it's totally normal for you to have that confusion. So
You're like, why are you having doubts and confusion? He's making total sense. And I believe him.
I was like, you're not following this immediately.
Hello. Is that not the show?
So my thing is that if it went north, it would have run into civilization at some point. Like it makes
Yeah.
more sense that it ended up in the Indian Ocean. At least to me.
Right. Yeah. For
So
witnesses.
yeah, so Jeff says that if the plane went north, it could have eventually made it to Kazakhstan, who is a client state of Russia. Therefore, he thinks it's plausible that the same Russian outfit that shot down the other plane that Obama was talking about could have also been involved in this plane. That is, again, such a very specific situation that cannot be proved.
You're like, Jeff, where is your evidence to prove that very specific theory?
So you want to know? You want to know his evidence? He goes into the passengers and he finds that 3 of them were Russian men.
Dude, they're like near Russia. Like for all intents and purposes.
I know, I'm
like they're in the Eastern Hemisphere.
I'm like, these could
people got
entire-
jobs.
exactly,
People got
it's like-
international jobs.
these could entirely be just regular Russian men
Yeah.
who don't know each other.
Yeah. Oh, so he thinks like the 3 of them or whoever many people like were in it together.
Yeah, no,
Because they're Russian.
No, just wait for this story. Just
Oh,
wait for
God.
this story. I'm not even there yet. So one of these Russian men happened to be sitting close to the hatch where the electronics bay is. And
Guilty.
I was
Slap
like,
that guilty stamp on. Russian, therefore evil. Near the hatch, therefore knew about the hatch, disabled the thing.
so he's linking this to that Russia invaded Crimea in 2014. So that could be a possible motive.
Yep.
And the disappearance of this flight took away all the media attention from that.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, that is very loose, Jeff, but okay. All right, are you ready for the story?
Yes.
So this is Jeff's hijacking theory.
Okay, give it to me, Jeff. Lay it on me, Jeff.
At the time of disappearance, the 3 Russian men would have had to have worked together as people start to go to sleep for the flight. Okay, so you're immediately assuming that they all know each other.
Yes, they're plants. They're all Russian plants.
They're all best friends, apparently. Yeah. Right off the bat. They are working together. That's not even a question.
He's like, lights go off, eyes closed, Russian eyes open. I can see it now. So one of these 3 men makes a ruckus near the back of the first class cabin as a diversion so that the flight attendant will go see what's up. Is that where the flap is? Or no?
No, it's away from that so that the flight attendant is away from the flap.
He's drawn out from the flap. Okay, yes.
He's the diversion Russian. Now we got the first class Russian who slips forward once the flight attendant walks away and gets into that hatch.
Give me that hatch.
Really fast. Gets into that hatch. So people aboard the plane apparently still got no clue, while the guy downstairs takes control of everything and wipes MH370 off of the map.
Yeah, they're honk shoeing. It's a red eye.
Precisely.
They're trying to sleep.
They're like, this is a routine flight, is it not?
Throwing off my circadian rhythm.
I also he completely loses whatever the 3rd Russian does, because this is
what's he doing?
Nothing.
Oh, he's staying put to make it look like the Russians are not up to anything bad.
No, Jeff is just lazy in this narrative and forgot about him as a
dropped
character.
The 3rd Russian immediately. He's like, oh shit, I can't keep track of all these people.
He's like, that guy's just a regular guy.
He's just chilling.
These 2 know each other.
Yeah.
So one guy is downstairs and apparently the diversion was either successful or like they don't need it anymore. I don't know. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is a lazy narrative, Jeff.
Yeah, this isn't very Ocean's 11 of him. Has he seen Ocean's 11?
You gotta have an answer for everything.
You gotta get a storyline for each man and what they're doing and why what they're doing affects the other people.
Listen,
they all feed into each other.
Those are the notes that I would have if this were a screenplay. I'm telling you that right now. I'd
and
be
it
like,
is
what
one in my mind, and it's not great.
So apparently the guy downstairs also pilots the plane from the electronics bay while he depressurized the cabin and lets the pilot.
I thought the electronics bay was far away from the cabin so that the pilots would know to turn it on because they're not supposed to know.
It is, but Jeff is supposing that you could possibly fly the plane from the electronics bay.
Well, I didn't know how like important the electronics bay was in a plane.
So it is it is very
so much.
It is very important, but you cannot fly the plane from there.
There ain't no steering wheel in there or nothing.
No.
It's not like in those old movies where they like someone's driving and then they yank the wheel when it comes to the other so the passenger side. He's like, now I'm driving the plane. Yeah. I was the passenger, now I am the pilot.
So yeah, so apparently this guy downstairs is also piloting the plane while he simultaneously depressurizes the cabin and lets the pilot and co-pilot's emergency oxygen leak. So everyone dies again by no oxygen.
Jeff is a sadist. I'm calling it. He's like, and then everyone died. They're like, okay, cool. Is there like a different theory?
But yeah, no,
that everyone doesn't die a slow, painful death in like a really intentional way.
It's just crazy because it's like, again, like they're dying the exact same way.
I think Jeff fucking did it.
He's like, someone looking into Jeff.
Jeff's like, and everyone died. The end. And they're like, you say that a lot.
Why do you think they died in this very same specific way? It's so painful.
He's like, and then they all choked. Their last words were, Jeff Wise did this, blah. And then they had X's over their eyes. The end. Please buy my screenplay.
So apparently this guy is so skilled from the electronics bay that he makes it to Kazakhstan.
He's an octopus.
That too.
He's got a lot of arms.
He's a human octopus hybrid.
He's Dr. Octopus.
He's Doc Ock. Doc Ock over here.
Doc Ock.
So I was like, has anyone searched those deserts? Can we confirm if a giant plane of human remains is there?
Yeah.
Or like could have been there previously? I don't know.
Yeah, because where does his theory put them in, like Kazakhstan?
Yes, gotcha, in Kazakhstan.
Gotcha.
And so he takes this hypothesis to the news.
Yes. Please give the news all of your unfact-checked data and then let them tell everyone it without a shadow of a doubt. and let everyone believe it as the truth.
He does keep saying, like, I know it sounds crazy. And I'm like, do you know it sounds crazy?
He's like, but I gotta say it anyway.
So Mike Exner, the pilot who was, or the former pilot who was in the independent group that I was talking about, he is disappointed in Jeff and says he is certain the plane turned south and not north, and Jeff is kicked out of the independent group.
Jeff, you're fucking cut off.
Like, you are not upholding the values of
You've
the
already
independent
used
group.
all three of your theories and you didn't use them wisely enough.
Mike Exner says this is simply a fiction based on fantasies woven together. Scorched earth, baby.
It's Mike time. Mike's taking over.
And I don't like fiction.
It's not real.
It's not real. It didn't happen.
Fiction books. I hate fiction books. It's not real.
It's not real. It didn't happen. So why am I hearing about it?
Yeah.
So Malaysian Airlines says it's not possible to fly the plane from the electronics bay.
Thank God, honestly. People needed to hear that.
Yeah,
but
they're
then,
like,
I feel like they've taken away all of their like people don't trust them anymore. So we're so insane with the media now. They'd be like, I think you can't. I think Malaysia's lying. That's how like, insane things are now.
Like, actually,
I think you can fly the plane from the electronics bay.
So, to end this part of this this theory, a piece of debris is found
Oh
in
shit.
La Réunion, which is a French territory in the Indian Ocean.
Oh my god. Did Elaine freak out or what?
Bum, bum, bum.
Elaine's like, dude, I'm French.
Dude, I'm French.
That's
I can
crazy.
go there.
Yeah. I can go there.
So
You don't need a passport.
you don't even need a passport.
Just go over there.
Thank you everyone so much for tuning in this week. We will be back in 2 weeks with part 2. Goodbye.